Spring is upon us, and we can finally enjoy barbecues and picnics once more. To me, there's no better meal than some freshly grilled food, and of course the great sides that come with it. One of the most popular salads in the Middle East is tabbouleh. It's got such a light and herby flavour that always goes down well. If you're new here, I'm Obi, and today I'm going to show you how to make a classic Lebanese tabbouleh, a masterpiece in the world of mezze and salads. Now, let's get started. When making tabbouleh, you'll want to put it together a few hours before eating. That will give its famous flavours enough time to develop. We'll start by soaking a bunch of bulgur, and if you haven't had this before, it's a type of wheat grain that is cracked and then par cooked. Once rehydrated, it has a texture similar to rice, but with a bit more bite. Place 50 grams or 1 3/4 ounces of finely cracked bulgur into a bowl. Next, pour over 70 milliliters or 4 tablespoons of freshly squeezed lemon juice, and this will get absorbed into the bulgur, giving it a soft texture. Briefly stir the two to combine, then set this aside for about 30 minutes so that it can rehydrate. Meanwhile, you'll want to chop up some onions. Some people will use spring onion for this, and others use regular onions, which I find are easier to chop to the tiny size that we'll need. Take 100 grams or 3.5 ounces of spring or white onion and chop it into a very small dice. If, like me, you struggle to dice your onions into very small pieces, then just run your knife through the diced onion in a mincing motion until it's nice and small. Place the chopped onion in a bowl, then add in 3/4 teaspoon of salt and 1/2 teaspoon of black pepper. Mix these together with the onion, and the salt will macerate it, removing the raw onion flavour. Set it aside for about half an hour while you prepare the rest of the ingredients. Now take about 8 sprigs of fresh mint and remove their leaves from the stalks. You should have a nice pile about this big when done. Roll it up, then use a knife to slice this into ribbons. You'll want about 1/4 cup of sliced mint. Next up, take 3 ripe plum tomatoes, and we'll be dicing these as small as the onions. Try to get a variety which is nice and firm, but with loads of tomato flavour. Cut the tomatoes in half and then remove the core and seeds and as much water as they contain. Then slice them into strips and turn those strips into small cubes. You want them to be about this big in size. Finally, we get to the parsley, which makes up the bulk of the salad, and for this recipe we'll be using 400 grams or 14 ounces of parsley. Wash the parsley thoroughly, then pat it dry, and I'd recommend doing this next step while sitting in front of the TV. You'll now take each stalk of parsley, then remove every single leaf from the stalk that it's attached to. This is a slow going process, but removing all the stalks significantly improves the texture of tabbouleh. If you don't want to do this, you could remove just the large main stalks and leave the smaller ones that the leaves are attached to. A few years later, you should have a pile of parsley that looks like this. You'll now start mincing it, and your aim is to get the parsley very finely minced until the leaves are absolutely tiny. If you have a food processor, you can try chopping this in there, but be careful that you don't over mince it into a paste. You'll know you're done mincing when your parsley looks like this. Make sure to pull out any large leaves so that it doesn't affect the final texture. By the time you're done with that, the bulgur should have finished rehydrating. You can see it has absorbed all the lemon juice and has softened. To put it together, take your chopped parsley and add it to a large mixing bowl, then add in your diced tomatoes. Follow that up with the macerated onions as well as the rehydrated bulgur. Next, pour in 1/4 cup of olive oil, and now you can start mixing. When it's looking pretty even, you can add in the mint, and I recommend doing this after the initial mix because sometimes the mint is quite strong and you'll want to add less of it. You'll also need to add about 1/4 cup more lemon juice, and this you should do by taste until the salad is nice and tangy. Once you have a balance between the lemon, mint and parsley, set the mixture aside and allow it to sit for at least 30 to 60 minutes. Until it has sat, the flavours might taste quite strong, but when the time is up, the acidity and sharpness of the mint and lemon will have toned down. Serve this on the same day, or you can make this up to 12 hours in advance. Any more than that and the parsley may wilt and go soft. Now let's check out the taste test. Eating tabbouleh is like being punched in the face with a bunch of herbs and sour lemons. It's one of those things you will either love or hate, but let me tell you, it's extremely refreshing and it pairs amazingly with grilled meats. The flavour is extremely herby and sour, but man is it good. I hope you give this tabbouleh a try and let me know if you want to see more mezze dishes in the future. Thank you to all our amazing patrons for making this video possible, and I'll be back soon with another recipe.